God, in his infinite mercy, extended Noah's life to 950 years. This long life, however, was not merely a reward for Noah's righteousness. It was also a testimony of God's faithfulness to a man who remained unwavering in his devotion, even when the world around him was filled with corruption, violence, and lawlessness. Noah's life stands as a powerful symbol of God's patience, justice, and mercy, an enduring example for all generations. Noah was born into a world that had long strayed from the path of righteousness. The earth had become filled with sin, and humanity had corrupted itself to the point where God was grieved that he had created man. Yet, amid this darkness, Noah stood out. He was a man who found grace in the eyes of the Lord. Genesis 6:8. He was a preacher of righteousness, a man who walked in obedience to God's commands. The entire world had turned its back on God, but Noah chose to remain faithful. Why did God allow Noah to live so long? Was it just a reward for his righteousness, or was there something more in this long life? Noah was chosen by God to save humanity from the great flood that would soon cover the earth. At that time, the earth was steeped in wickedness, and God decided to cleanse it. But Noah, along with his family, was spared. God instructed Noah to build the ark, a massive vessel that would protect him and his loved ones from the coming flood. During the years Noah spent building the ark, he continued to preach to the people, warning them of the coming judgment. But despite his righteous life and his warnings, no one else listened. Noah's life was more than just physical existence. He was a witness to two worlds: the world before the flood, which was destroyed because of its sin, and the new world that would emerge after the flood, a world of renewed hope and redemption. In the midst of the greatest calamity in history, Noah's life became a living testament to God's grace. He did not only survive the flood, but through his obedience, the future of humanity was secured. When the flood waters receded, Noah and his family emerged from the ark to start anew. The world had been cleansed, and Noah's family became the foundation of the new human race. But even after the flood, Noah did not rest. He continued to preach God's word, sharing the lessons learned from the flood and teaching his children about the importance of walking in God's ways. He saw the world that was now free from the corruption that had once plagued it, and he knew the importance of preserving righteousness. Though he had just witnessed the destruction of a sinful world, Noah remained hopeful, trusting that God would guide him in this new era. The Bible tells us that Noah lived for 350 years after the flood. This long life was both a blessing and a reminder of God's commitment to his plan. For Noah, living so long allowed him to witness the growth of his descendants and the fulfillment of God's promises. Though he may have seen many of his contemporaries pass away, Noah remained steadfast. He had endured the flood and seen the renewal of the earth, and now, in his old age, he continued to see the faithfulness of God in the lives of his children. He witnessed their growth and the expansion of their families. Noah's descendants would go on to populate the earth, each family continuing the legacy of faithfulness. Noah's life also serves as a powerful reminder that while God often rewards those who are faithful, he also has a plan for their lives that extends beyond just their own benefit. Noah's righteousness did not only impact his immediate family, it was a beacon of hope for the generations to come. By remaining faithful, Noah ensured that the covenant God made with him would be passed down. Through Noah, the world would be blessed with the opportunity to know God's mercy and grace. Even as he lived long, Noah knew that death would eventually come for him, just as it comes for all. His 950 years were a testament to God's grace, but they were also a reminder that no matter how long a person lives, life on earth is temporary. Noah's death, while a natural part of life, was also a transition from one world to another. He had lived through the flood and had seen the new world take shape. Now he would move on to the next phase of God's eternal plan. For Noah, death was not something to fear. He was an heir of the righteousness that comes through faith. His reward was not found in the number of years he lived, but in the legacy he left behind. When his life came to an end, Noah entered into a better world, a world of eternal rest and communion with God. Though the world around him had been destroyed, Noah's life had been preserved for a purpose, and that purpose was fulfilled. He had been faithful to God, and now he would enjoy the eternal reward promised to all who walk in righteousness. Noah's story is not just one of survival, it is one of faith, righteousness, and hope. His life teaches us the importance of remaining faithful to God, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. It shows us that righteousness and obedience are not always easy, but they lead to eternal rewards. Noah lived for nearly 1,000 years, but his legacy is not measured by the number of years he lived, but by his faithfulness to God and his role in God's plan for the world. When God extended Noah's life, it wasn't just for his own sake. It was for the sake of the generations that would come after him. Noah was chosen to be a vessel of God's mercy and grace, and his life was a testimony to the world of what it means to be faithful to God. Today, Noah's story remains a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness and his promise to reward those who seek him with all their heart. As we reflect on Noah's life, we are reminded of our own journey. Just as Noah remained faithful and was rewarded, we too must strive to live righteously, trusting in God's plan for our lives. When our time comes, will we have a legacy of faith like Noah's? Will we be remembered for our obedience to God, for our commitment to his will, and for the way we lived our lives according to his word? Every day is a gift from God, and as Noah lived for 950 years, let us too live with purpose. Let us dedicate each day to serving God and fulfilling his will for our lives. Just as Noah was faithful to the end, may we also be faithful, knowing that God has a plan for us, one that will lead us to a better world, a world where we will be rewarded for our faithfulness. In the end, when our time on earth is over, may we, like Noah, transition from this world to the next with the knowledge that we have fulfilled God's purpose for our lives. For those who walk in faith, who live according to God's will, death is not the end. It is merely the beginning of a new chapter, one that will last for eternity. Let Noah's story remind us that the length of our life is not what matters most. It is the legacy we leave behind. Let us strive to leave a legacy of righteousness, faithfulness, and unwavering trust in God's promises. Far, far away, when the world was young and the earth had not yet known the concept of division, there was a family responsible for the legacy of humanity. Noah, the man who survived the flood, was the leader of his family. His sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, were key figures in the new beginning of the world. However, one of them, Peleg, carried a name of great significance, and that significance was revealed long after his birth. Peleg was not only the son of Eber, a man who was a true example of virtue and righteousness, but also the heir to a special message that was engraved in his name. The name Peleg was not just an ordinary name. It was a name that carried the secret of a great event in his days, the time when the earth was divided. But why that name? How did this division affect the world, and what did it mean for his descendants? Some say that long ago, when the world was in its early stages of restoration, Noah divided the world among his sons, creating peace and order. Each son received his portion of the earth, where they would live and rule. But something very important happened. People began to lose themselves in their ambitions and selfishness. Each nation, each person, wanted to be on top, and so divisions began to form between them. But then came the moment that changed history. Suddenly, the people who had attempted to build a tower that would reach the heavens, those who wished to be like gods, encountered their fate, sent by God himself. God saw their pride and sent confusion. The languages of the people became incomprehensible, and every nation was forced to separate and migrate to different parts of the world. The earth was divided. Then, when Peleg was a child, his father, Eber, gave him a name that carried the memory of this great event. The name Peleg meant division, but it was not just a division of the land. It was a division of the human soul, a division that carried the secret of the pride of people who wanted to reach the heavens and the moment when humanity was separated from God. People might have outsmarted each other, but at the same time, they were divided from one another, losing their true purpose. The division was not only physical, it was spiritual. As Peleg grew, he carried the name that reflected the weight of the world. The division that occurred in his days was much more than just a historical event. It carried a lesson we must never forget. While people may be divided for various reasons, true strength lies in uniting, in returning to God. And so, whenever you think of the name Peleg, remember that moment when the earth was divided. Remember how, because of pride, people were forced to separate. But also remember that hope remains, and that unity in true faith and true love is what heals the divided soul of humanity. Just as it was in the days of Peleg, so today the world has the chance to unite.